Tim, I'd love to stop, but I can't.
That's ball juice.
And good morning, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing, show number 98, with my wonderful co-host, Mr. Edward StOnge from Flip2, and Mr. Tim Peter from Tim Peter and Associates. Gentlemen, good morning, and sorry for us laughing as we start the show, but we have some very fun early dialogue before we actually turn the camera on.
Yes, we're very sorry that we're having fun, and
yes.
We're going to stop now. We promise. From this point forward, there'll be no fun.
Yeah, it's going to be very dry from here on out.
Yes, from now on, it's nothing but cynicism and evilness and everything else. Without actually, as a kind of a recap, there's so much this week to talk about. It's like actually hard to pick something that's worth spending a lot of time.
I do have to say, I'm blown away. Like, you guys didn't pick up on some like really awesome things that have happened while I was gone. I just didn't know if you were waiting for me to come to talk about them, but like
some conversations just we don't do it justice without you here. That's what it is. That's
Which one? Pick one.
Well, my favorite is, did you guys see that Expedia is now allowing the hotels to build content around the activities and things to do within the neighborhood of the hotel?
Yeah.
It's super nice of them to allow the hotels to now do that.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Let's face it, they're brilliant. So my piece of advice here is don't hate Expedia for this, because they know
don't hate the player.
But while you're doing it for Expedia, maybe just go ahead and do it for yourself too.
Or instead of doing it for Expedia, just saying.
Yeah, but now you're allowed to.
Well, isn't that nice?
Yeah, I think actually Mr. Robert Cole brought that to our attention as well. That he popped up with the hey, we should talk about that. I think it was the one but we didn't spend much time with it, and unjustifiably, because it is a point of. I think you made the point in an early conversation we had on a call that it's like, why would you ever in a million years do that for somebody that's taking money out of your pocket before you? Well,
no, you should do it, but do a better job of it for yourself than you do for them. That's what I mean. Because remember, it's about channel mix. It's about balance. There are days of the year that I guarantee you Expedia selling your room is cheaper than you selling your room.
Yes,
absolutely.
Like, there may not be many of them, but there will be days of the year that they will eat your inventory at a lower cost to you than you can do through your other channels.
I use this example all the time. My friends down in Charleston, South Carolina. Selling Charleston, South Carolina in August is next to impossible.
Yeah.
Expedia is a great play at points like that. Travel Zoo is a great play at points like that. Booking is a great play because,
because it's 98 degrees.
Hotels with 98% humidity.
And they're small hotels. They don't have indoor things to do.
Right. Yeah.
No, very, very true for it.
So I think you should do it on Expedia, and then do a really killer job of it on your own site. Because here's the thing. I'm searching for travel again. I'm searching for the family again. And this time I want to go somewhere that's not hot in August. Mm-hmm. You'd be amazed. Like, the top 10 things that come up in a Google search when I look for this is like Parenting Magazine, New York Times. Like, there's nothing. Like, the hotels don't show up until like 40 spots down. Right. And when you look at these articles, the articles are all sending people to booking.com. And I will say, I found, so there's this like whole slew of like these mega family resorts on lakes in the Northeast and stuff that are just amazing, that don't have booking engines, have amazing sites, no booking engine. Right. And I'm fine with that, except there was one I found that has no booking engine, great site, but is selling on booking.com.
Right, sure.
And I have a problem with that. If you're not going to have a booking engine on your own site, and I'm guessing the decision on that is you do a better job selling when you get them on the phone, which is fine. That's whatever. Don't be on booking.com. Because here's the thing. Your TripAdvisor that you worked so hard to become the #1 hotel in your place, Vermont, has booking.com availability. So everyone who is checking TripAdvisor to verify that you are the awesome resort that you are, who just wants to know what's the cost to go there, they're going to do booking.com and they're going to book there.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, I've shared with you, Ed, or in a conversation we had a couple of days ago on the phone that there's a potential client I'm speaking with that has the terrible black background, purple letter, spinny letter thing website. Right. No business.
Amazon.com has black background, doesn't it?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. White. That's right.
Their whole booking methodology is on OTA. They don't use their website. There's no contribution from their website at all. And they're finally looking at, well, maybe we put a new website up. But even still, there's
they're going to keep the purple font. I
like. Well, they've been asking. Yeah, the color palette they want to stick with, I guess. You know, they have an endearing factor to it. But no, it goes back to the point that there is still that in the world. There's still
there's a lot of that in the world.
There's hotels that don't have a booking engine. Why affordability? They don't need it.
I'm fine if you don't have a booking engine because you have a complex product and you know the upselling is worth it, and you know all of that. You know, have a good site still.
Yeah, of course.
You know, sell people on it, but don't be on OTAs if you're not going to have a booking engine. Because your direct call-in channel is your best channel of getting people the happiest, do not sell on OTAs because there will be an entire group of people who will not call you. I'm actually considering this hotel in Vermont because it does look really cool. And I'm actually considering booking it on booking.com because I don't want to call. I don't want to be put on hold. My wife called one. Got put on hold and then disconnected. So we're not staying there. They're lucky they don't sell on booking.com because I would have booked them on booking.com just to explain to them why
they shouldn't.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's insane to me. Yeah.
No, very true.
I've got one quick thing I want to say. I want to add, you and I could not agree more on this. If we tried, we could not be more aligned. I just want to restate what you said slightly differently. With regard to doing it for Expedia, creating this content for Expedia, I would recommend create really great content for your website, then take about a third of it and put it on Expedia, right? Yeah. Don't start with Expedia and then go from there.
Yeah.
Do it right for you first.
Build it for your guests.
Yeah, exactly.
Which means it should be on your site.
Exactly.
And then give summarized versions of it
right.
to Expedia.
Right. Yep. But that's purely a semantic point, but I did want to call it out because
one of the chuckles that we were having before we started the show was yet now another brand. Oh, Mr. Robert Cole is joining us. The IHG and their big mega conference in Las Vegas that they always have. Good morning, Mr. Cole.
Well, good morning.
You look so evil with the cat in your lap and everything. You're like, whoa.
There we go. Oh, you can see Kel.
That is a fat cat, man. Holy cow.
Hey, don't body shame my cat.
I'm not body shaming your cat. I'm saying your cat is substantial. That's a hardy cat.
Also weighs about 30 pounds.
That is a thriving cat.
There it is, thriving cat.
He was tiny. He was when we got him, he apparently was feral. So he's the kind of cat who, if he sees food, he eats it. Because when he was small, he never knew where his.
I was going to say, there's also not a mouse to be found in your neighborhood anywhere.
That's right. And just like Lauren, if you put a metal brush up to his face, he will just rub on it all day.
One of my more quirky habits, Anyway.
You've never tried that with Lauren. Oh, come on. It's a lot of fun.
I mean, it's annoying because he does it to pencil erasers as you're trying to write.
Anything that creates a nice feel, you know?
I hate when he comes and lays on the paper you have on the desk and just won't get out of the way. Or on my computer keyboard.
Yeah, it's a keyboard. It's a special one for you, yes. All right.
Kelso's left.
Their new brand. Ed and I were talking about just before we kicked on. The irony of this just that does not escape me. It's just how weird is it they're going to go over and start vulturizing their own best, strongest brand source.
So here's my question. The two of you have worked for brands.
Yep.
So why create another brand?
So what are you guys talking about?
We're talking about IHG's new unbranded brand where they haven't come up with a brand yet. There's actually a really easy answer.
Holiday Inn Super Express.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be, you know what? No, because it's like the whole inclusive LGBTA thing. Maybe it's going to be Holiday Out.
Oh,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But there's a really simple answer for this one.
Okay.
Developers aren't buying the brands they're selling. I mean, fundamentally.
Yeah, but why aren't they? Why aren't they?
That's a more important question. But I mean, fundamentally, that's why you launch new brands. It's because you can't get developers to buy the brands you buy.
Well, either that, or you just want to completely blanket the spectrum, and you want as much density in a city as possible, right? So you can cover all four corners.
There is an area of protection situation that can come into play there too, where if you've got. I'm completely making this up. I don't know IHG's situation in this case, but
I've fake brand names.
Well, I'll use them.
Overlook Hotel.
If they've got 3 Holiday Inn Expresses in some of the large, more densely populated areas in a secondary market, they can't put a 4th one there without violating AOPs. But they could put
but they're still screwing. They're screwing the reason that exists. Like, that's the problem. Like, you're screwing your franchise owners in that market who had this protection that you wouldn't put more than X of the same product in a market so there wouldn't be saturation. And you went, oh, no, but Y is $1 cheaper and the soap is green.
But the other aspect, too, is that I think it's also a counter to the saturation that Marriott-Starwood combination has created. I think some of the arguments in ownership halls now are, look, yes, it's going to be eroding into your AOP, but know that the collaboration of brand relationship is going to be stronger for you.
Rising tide.
Yeah. But again, they're going mid-scale. They're going below Holiday Inn Express. I think they're
to me, it's an upper low. It's not mid-scale.
Right.
Mid-scale
I think they want to compete against La Quinta, Red Roof Inns, those sorts of Days Inns, the whole Wyndham portfolio. But my theory is, Wyndham was pretty successful at it with a large number of hotels because, again, these are franchising companies. They don't have much to do with running hotels.
Right.
If you can get an intersection, across a major interstate, and you can cover all 4 corners of that intersection with your brands, and you go, okay, this is good. Same thing with Marriott clustering, a Residence Inn with a courtyard with a,
and I understand that when there's a good differentiation in the offering of the product. The problem most of the brands have gotten into is there is no difference. Like,
and why would you want to launch something without a name?
Some of this middle, there is no differentiation.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the differentiation is so small that there's no way the consumer knows that that something's different.
The headline for this should be, the hotel industry has gotten so bad at developing and differentiating brands, they can't even name them anymore.
I'm telling you, it should be Holiday Out. That would actually be the smartest branding decision ever.
Sure.
Holiday Out for, and it should be like rainbow colored and stuff. I think it would be amazing.
Does everybody remember the Holiday Inn Selects, the Holiday Inn Sunspree?
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah. Sure. Oh, no, the Selects, between the Expresses, the Selects, the Crown Plazas, and the traditional Holiday Inns, the classic question, you ask somebody with IHG, what is a Select? And they couldn't. You get like 5 different answers if you ask 5 people. It was just, and it didn't work.
But you know what? You know what product they did come up with that I always liked even before I had kids was the Family Suites product.
Yeah.
I thought that was genius. Like, it's a little bit of extra square footage per room. You throw some bunk beds in it that have like a funky design on it. I've always thought that was brilliant. I don't know why they didn't go wider with those.
Because it's a problem midweek when you don't have families.
That's exactly why.
Business people don't like the bunk beds.
Why not?
Well, Ed, not everyone's
I'm sure. Like, corporations like Cvent that require when multiple employees are in the same city at the same time, they have to share rooms. I mean, bunk beds. Right.
Yeah,
because there's more space for activities.
I was thinking the lighting fixtures could be more like a tent with a flashlight, and so you could do really cool stuff. So.
Well, actually, we had a couple of franchisees who ran properties that were effectively that back in the day, but that's another story.
Oh no! Wait, my favorite hotel value add, kind of value add discount was there was a franchisee for Holiday Inn in Binghamton, New York, back in we're talking late 70s, got $5 off if you brought your own sheets.
Oh wow! Wow!
I'm writing that one down. I'm going to test that.
For that property in that era,
that's incredibly
like a 45% discount.
They were so ahead of their time. That is so green.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Actually, I'll tell you what, I used to love some of the innovation we would see from individual franchisees, though. In all seriousness, we had a guy, we had a franchisee who built a baseball field. He had this big vacant lot next to his property. He built a baseball field and appealed to, all these small colleges, travel teams, things along those lines. A lot of Smurf business, Smurf business. Have your family reunion. Look, we have a park out back where you can do stuff. It was really smart, really brilliant. And I'm going to be incredibly cynical and incredibly dark for a second for me.
For a second.
All right. Okay. Fine. All the time.
We're seeing the emo Tim. Excellent.
Exactly. I'll put on some Muse records. These are all asset-light franchisors, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fundamentally, their business to the street is opening hotel rooms. It's not about coming up with differentiated brands. It's about if they can get more franchisees to sign on, then they're winning. Mm-hmm. And if they want to do that with the lowest possible investment, the broadest possible appeal in the sense of, hey, you could flip flags from being whatever this is going to be to being a Holiday Inn Express 3 years from now to being a, whatever 3 years after that or 5 years after that, when the product starts to get tired, right? Move it down the tiers.
There you go.
And look, room count hasn't changed. We've just degraded the properties through the tiers as they work their way into being really, really tired inventory until some other investor wants to buy the thing and refurbish it or tear it down and start over. Yep. Fundamentally, they're not in the business of selling a hospitality experience. They're in the business of selling a franchise. They're in the business of selling a flag.
Yep.
And I don't want to be too cynical because I do think within a lot of these companies, people are working hard to try to differentiate these products and the like. But generally speaking, they're measured by going to the street once a quarter and saying, what's our room count?
And the street won't permit them to clean it up. Every once in a while, Intercontinental had to go do that, right? They went out and, big chunked a bunch of folks out, and what happened? A lot of Choice and Wyndham portfolios kind of went up because that's what they didn't really have any place to catch them, sort of thing. So that's, I don't know.
But even when Wyndham did it, I've told this story on the show many times. We went through a huge quality initiative, Project Restore.
Periodically, every decade or so, this has gotten too bad. It's now bringing a negative impact on the brand. So clean it up. And then,
what we did at the same time was we actually grew room count every quarter. We just grew room count at a slower pace. And if there were, I'm going to pick a number. I don't know the number off the top of my head. If there were 100 properties on the cut list, right? If there were, what's that going to be? It's going to be 8,000 rooms on the
queue it against like your coming online list.
You got it. Yeah, you got it. If we had 75, if we had 8,000 rooms on the cut list and we had 7,900 rooms on the inbound list, well, guess what? We cut 7,800.
Right.
Yep.
Because we could go to the street and show that we grew room count by 100 rooms or whatever the numbers were.
Right? Yeah.
While improving quality.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want to bring one thought I had about this whole brand thing too is that with the soft brands got to wake up, I think, and realize their true value potential in what they're seeing brands do to themselves. Because, and maybe it's because it's fresh in my mind because I'm writing an article about why is digital marketing so hard for hospitality people is because in my mind, my predication of the whole writing of this is that because hospitality industries have stopped doing what hospitality is and take care of the guests or taking care of themselves and investments and everything else. And this yet new brand flavor is just another iteration. It's not to the benefit of a guest.
I really think it comes down to, but here's what it comes down to. I don't think it's that they're making that choice. I think it's the bipolar nature in which these hotels are operating. We have a client that is a soft brand of one of the major brands, and they did that, I think, because they had to. But they're trying to operate as an independent hotel, and that's where they're killing themselves. is they're not leaning into the fact that they're a soft brand, and like living that part of the life. They're just trying to operate like an independent, working within the reality of the brand restriction. And that's where they shoot themselves. Like if you're a real estate investment trust that specializes in a specific type of property, make sure your operators understand that like there is no desire to do these types of things with the property. Like stick to this. These are the core tenements of how these properties will work, and don't get that dual personality that conflicts.
Can I ask a question? When you're talking about a soft brand, you don't have to name the specific brand, but you mean the legitimate soft brands that
not like preferred.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And what kind of restrictions?
But Preferred's a soft brand.
Yeah, Preferred has been a soft brand for years. Leading hotels has been a soft brand for years.
They're a soft brand who is truly like lives within the realm
of independence,
right? Where the soft brands by the major brands are literally just a non-brand standard driven architecture of the same exact rules that a flagged hotel has to follow.
Yeah, and they carve out a little bit. Like I believe Marriott, if you're an Autograph, I don't think you get the national sales offices. I don't think you get. They may have changed that, but when they first launched, you didn't get the national sales office network because that is how they kind of carved out the full service Marriott, which again is a problem for these soft brands. That's an
enormous problem. I mean, God, half the people who joined Leading when I was there joined
for the sales
because of our sales offices. I mean, fundamentally, that's what we brought to the table.
Right.
As much as anything we did. Right. I mean, if you were a European property, you couldn't have a New York sales office, but we had one, so it worked out really great.
Right.
But it's interesting on what we've seen on these corporate, we'll call them corporate soft brands.
Right.
So there's no confusion. They follow the same exact formula and rules as the flagged properties.
Right.
So that means, like, if you think about like a Preferred or a Leading or any of them, you hire a really good director of marketing or a really good director of sales and marketing or whatever. There's so much freedom to be creative in how you interact with your guests, how you reach new guests and all that. That doesn't exist in the corporate soft brands.
Well, at Leading specifically, and I mean, I'm not doing a commercial for them. I worked there for 4 years. I haven't worked there in 6 years, right? It's a somewhat different company than the time I was there. But we were a collection of independent hotels.
Right. And that's a lot of them are that way. Like,
Preferred is exactly the same way. Yeah. Small Luxury is exactly the same way. Sorry.
Yep.
My eye.
World
so
Hotel.
Disappears, but there he is. He's coming back. Okay.
Right.
So I'm not talking about that type because that's really you're getting a chain code in a sales office.
Right. You're talking about a slightly deflagged property.
Yeah, a lightly deflagged.
A faded flag.
But and so this is where that property owner is making a mistake. Is they're trying to operate as an independent hotel within the restrictions of a major global brand. And you can't. Like, you just can't do that because all of your efforts that you cook up, you're going to get a tiny percentage of the benefit that an independent hotel gets from doing those efforts because it all has to fit inside the dilution of the guest experience of the overarching brand family. So accept it, do the brands programs, you'll have better success in the long run than trying to operate against the reality you're in. So it's like I talk about, you can always tell a hotel that's run by a hotelier, someone who believes in hospitality first, versus a hotel that's run by a REIT. Okay.
Right.
You really see the problem in like the disjointed nature in this industry is when you see a property owned by a REIT trying to be operated as if it was a hotelier owned hotel is where the guest experience just gets really wonky. They're really good in certain ways and really horrible in others. And it just doesn't match up. It doesn't line up. Accept what you are, design your product and your efforts around what you are. You will appeal to the people who are okay with that. And, you'll have your audience, but don't try to be something you're not, because as a vendor in this world, I see all the time hotels with this massive conflict. And really, most of the time, it just boils down to you're trying to be something you're not.
Right.
Know what you are, know what your reality is, innovate within those frameworks.
Right.
Well, Enough said. There we go. A couple of things. Some interesting point outs for some stuff. And we can dive on a couple of these ones. I thought there was an interesting blog post from out of Website Magazine that we can get to later. But I mean, there were some things that everybody contributed to on some of the grab bag. One of them was the YouTube stats that you had shared with Tim. That was crazy.
Oh yeah. I love this stat. This is the best stat. So VidCon is going on right now, and for those of you who don't know VidCon, it is a giant convention of YouTube media personalities, right? YouTube personalities. Mike Isaac of the no, you don't do air quotes, Ed. Some of these people are legit famous. At least
I know,
like us. We're on YouTube.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's funny.
Mike Isaac from the New York Times, who's probably about Ed's age, right? So said the funniest thing. He said, "I'm the oldest person here by like 1,000,000 years." You know, he said there was some great line. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but it was really funny. He said something to the effect of, everybody here is young and perfect and beautiful, and I am Quasimodo's older, uglier brother. Nonetheless.
And now you know how I feel with you guys.
So at VidCon, YouTube's president, and I apologize, I actually don't know how you say her last name. I've seen her name in print for years, but I've never actually heard it pronounced. Susan Wojcicki, I think is her name. She's like Googler number 3 or something like that. They actually started Google in her family's garage, and then she went on to become the president of YouTube. Nonetheless, she said, a question I get all the time is, how many people actually watch YouTube? Today, I'm pleased to announce that we crossed a big threshold. 1.5 billion logged-in viewers visit YouTube every single month.
Yeah.
And on average, our viewers spend over an hour a day watching YouTube on mobile devices alone.
Yep.
That is a staggering statistic. And I want to tie it to one other stat that I think we have in the show notes as well, which there was an eMarketer piece, I forget where they referenced it. Skift picked it up and ran with it as well. That said in 2017, 40% of online travel bookings will be made on mobile. Mm-hmm. So,
well,
we've talked about mobile a lot and how important it is. There you go, folks.
and on the video side, how much is Netflix, right? I mean,
no, this is just YouTube.
No. But then, no. I'm saying add on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
And then add on Snapchat or Facebook, the video. It's just it's massive. And
oh yeah. Well, the other most we didn't get to a couple of weeks back was there's more money spent on online advertising than in TV now for the first time. That happened a couple of weeks ago.
Thank God, it's about
and the big thing on YouTube is, I think, attributed at least for Google and making money on YouTube, because that took them a little while. First, it was just a big resource drain. Was Oliver Heckman, who's now Google's head of travel. So. Hospitality industry or travel industry, take note, they put their A-team guy into travel, but Heckman was the guy who wrote the algorithm. Young guy, whip smart. He's the guy who wrote the algorithm for the digital rights management that went, that video looks familiar, it's from that movie. And I've heard that song before, it's that one. So he wrote that algorithm, but then apparently he went to the Google higher ups and went, hey, I just wrote some software which kind of defeats the purpose of why we're here. All these people who produce this content want people to see it, and all these people want to consume it, but we're now making that impossible because the economics don't really work. What if we figured out how to advertising, and now people like, Taylor Swift make more money off of YouTube than they do off of selling CDs or Spotify or anything else. However, actually, I should take that back. Taylor Swift apparently went back onto the streaming services. She had an exclusive with Apple, right? For a while.
Right.
Her first week back, she made $400,000. and launched on the same day as Katy Perry's album dropped. So that would be a very interesting case study to see how much, her entire catalog's availability sucked the oxygen out of the room for
$400 grand. Jeez, that's more than I make in a month.
week.
Barely.
Just barely. So I
Lauren's like, I almost make that in an hour.
I just posted a link. I just posted a link to a presentation I gave to the AMA Executive Circle about a month ago. And the only reason I posted it, the reason I posted it specifically while we're having this discussion was because I don't have the underlying stats anywhere easy to get to. And I do have a slide on this.
Just make them up.
Yeah, dude. Just say them with conviction.
Yeah, exactly.
Like 4 to 5 people agree.
But per day, 100 million hours of Facebook video watched. Per day, 4.5 billion YouTube videos watched. Per day, 10 billion Snapchat video views. Now, obviously, they are measuring these things by very different standards, right? Let's be really clear about that.
Yeah.
That said, who cares? 10 billion views of video on Snapchat. Obviously, people aren't watching the whole thing, but that's a lot of views.
I've looked at
videos viewed on YouTube. That's a lot of views.
Presentation. I've got your presentation here, and it says Instagram post is 55
million.
It says 55 million
per
Facebook
day.
Hours. Yeah, per day. 100 million Facebook hours of video watched. 4.5 billion YouTube videos viewed. 5.5 billion Google searches. I think that's the big stat there, because the number of YouTube videos viewed is almost as high as the number of Google searches, and that's
what that
absolutely
really shows
staggering.
You is it shows you that the way we learn and consume and discover is changing.
Oh yeah, right, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and with voice, I mean, voice. The big catchphrase now is you can speak 140 words a minute, and you can only write or type. Yeah, that sort of thing. And
I could type 140 words a minute. What's wrong with you? Yeah.
Yes, and I make $400,000 a month.
Of course, Ed has to use his little court stenographer thing to do that. But yeah.
Court keyboard.
I just threw up a link to one of the other topics we're doing, the grab bag, because it was an interesting stat as well. Instagram stories now hit 250 million daily users. And for those who are not Instagram literally comfortable, stories is your progressive way of keeping dialogue on the platform rather than just these. It's solved a solution of just posting stuff on Instagram as just a erratic amount of content. You can actually create continuity to what you're posting so people can follow your story.
Boy, that was a really long way to explain. It was Facebook's way of bitch slapping Snapchat.
Exactly. And with that was Snap. I want to go and point this other little grab bag article we had on Time Warner freaking dropping $100 million on creating original Snapchat content.
Sure. Yep. And so here's the thing. Don't immediately look at that as, oh my gosh, we got to get into Snap. Bad decisions are made even at big companies.
Yeah. But I want to go to the core of it, though. And one thing about it is that the consumable rate, with all these numbers we're talking about, we're not watching 2.5-hour movie episodes. Yes, we are. Some, I mean, Netflix and all. But this consumable stuff is short and digestible. And that's what been Snapchat's strong forte.
But
for the purposes of what we're talking about,
I'm sorry, Lauren. I'm sorry. I get so bent when people say this. And Ed,
thank God! I thought Tim had a bad breakfast burrito.
No. And I know you know this because you and I have had this conversation. We need to stop talking about lengths in absolutes. The length of your content should be the length of your content. Whatever length is necessary to tell the story you need to tell in a way.
Unless you're Lauren. Hold on. Unless you're Lauren. Because Lauren cannot get to a point ever.
No, exactly. I'm sorry. My content is a lot less than my time spent talking about it, all right?
Now, I want to be fair. There's an old writing truism. I think Hemingway said this, but I could be mistaken. Kill your darlings, right? However long it is, your content is, it probably can be shorter and be better if you chop some stuff out. That said, if it takes, if you can get the story told in 20 seconds, do it. If you can get it told, if it takes 60 seconds, do it. If it takes 10 minutes, do it.
Just remember, your current second needs to earn the next second.
That's exactly
and
right.
As long as that's true in your content, length of content doesn't matter.
That's exactly
And we
right.
test it constantly. We use video quite a bit. And when we were first researching video, it was like, you can't go beyond 42 seconds or you're going to completely fail. You know what our average view time is on our videos? 2 minutes, 47 seconds.
That's great.
Yeah, why? Because we spend
better videos.
We spend a crap ton of time making sure that every second of our video earns the next second.
Okay. Yeah. I am not going to go over and disagree in context to what you're saying. I am going to be disagreeing in the fact of its absolute value, which you just condemned as saying you can't do as well. There is no absolute value to take content for its duration for whatever the value is. It also is a time consumption issue. I don't care.
Oh, sure.
There is so much inundation and so many varieties of ways to consume.
You're right.
There is a time restriction no matter how interested they are, no matter how much they want to hear the next minute. They just don't have the time availability for it, and they need it in
I don't agree with that at all.
Well, first of all, Lauren, only Siths deal in absolutes.
My empire.
So, there's that.
But you see, I'm a great Jedi. I'm in the center. I take both sides of it quite well. As a matter of fact, I have a great T-shirt because of being my last name. The Great
So basically, you are the one who has brought balance to the Force.
I have brought balance to the Force. I'm neither Sith nor Jedi. Yeah. No, I believe that there's a very high relevance to what you're saying. And yes, and on the skewing of most, I would say you're mostly right to it compared to me saying in the opposite extreme. But I believe there is an exception value that a time restraint does dictate, regardless of the level of interest, the availability of consumers.
You are just so wrong. And listen, I'll use YouTube. I'll use YouTube as the perfect example. So it is very popular inside of Flip2's Slack channel to post very funny YouTube videos. And we're all very busy. And it never fails. One gets posted. And then about 15, 20 minutes later, you get a post from someone else who went, holy crap, I just got sucked into the YouTube funnel of endlessness.
Right. Yep.
Now look at this other video I found. Right.
Right.
If it's compelling, time is not part of the equation.
Yeah, Lauren, here's where you're correct, right? And I'm going to do something I never do.
You're going to agree with Lauren?
No, I'm going to
disagree with Ed.
I'm going to say a naughty word. And the reason I'm going to say a naughty word is because we need to call things what they truly are. The reason, Lauren, that it seems like you're right, even though you're not, is because most video is shit. Right?
Absolutely.
That is the reality. That's the reality. Ed's line could not be more perfect. Each second has to earn the next second.
And I do not disagree with that statement.
And most
video,
because video is not.
Yep. No.
However, okay. Go ahead, Lauren.
No, I agree. 1 second has to earn the next. But there is a quantitative amount of what you're wanting to learn.
Sure, by 24/7, 24 by 7 by 365.
And that's the limit. Right. Yeah, but that's it. That's the limit. And because of that, as a consumable, once I get to a point, regardless of my future or long-term interest in something like this, I do not have the need to continue forward. I got either my answer, I ran out of time.
I hear what. No, but again, you're not earning that next second.
Yeah, that's all it is. I'll give you a perfect example. How many of you have ever binge watched? How many of you have ever binge watched a series on Netflix?
Ed just asked the question I was just going to ask.
How many of you have ever binge watched a series on Netflix?
I have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never have.
Really?
Never.
Oh.
Well,
you
are falling prey to one of the oldest mistakes in marketing, which is the focus group of one. Right? You got short attention span theater. It doesn't work for me. Ergo, it doesn't work.
No,
and I'm telling you, man, Ed is spot on. If length mattered, people would never binge.
No.
Now, people don't binge stuff that's crap.
On the contrary, I cater to that. I rely on that. I use the tool. I never refer to myself. The worst thing to do is just sell yourself. I actually don't use that as my reference point of what I'm saying. I'm saying this in the sense of the amount of volume of time that people have the opportunity to spend doing what we're talking about. These stats is what I'm relying on, saying this is the amount of consumed time people are doing, and it's a growing amount of time. I'm not saying it isn't. But out of that, they're trying to saturate too much content, and their time consumption is limiting them.
I hear what you're saying.
Stop.
I hear what you're saying, but here's the thing. Let's take that hour that people are watching on mobile, right? I want to be really clear. Most people who are watching this, most people are going to create videos, etc., aren't going to win that hour, right? But if you make the hour that people want to watch, they'll spend that entire hour watching you and not something else. They might even spend an hour and an extra minute. They might spend an hour and an extra 2 minutes, because that's what happens. That's I have this fight and this debate and this discussion with two friends of mine constantly. There's a guy named Mark Schaefer who wrote a book called The Content Code. It is an excellent, excellent, excellent book. And in The Content Code, he argues that, great content won't rise to the top because there is the limit on people's time, and eventually there's just too much content. I think Mark is right, and I think he's wrong. Somebody once said, the abundance of books is a great burden, or something to that effect. The overabundance of books is a great burden. I'm pretty sure that was Pliny the Elder in like 350 BC. There's always been a limit on people's time. And yet, really good stuff does tend to rise. Let me ask the guy on the other side of the argument is Joe Pulizzi. Joe Pulizzi from the Content Marketing Institute, who always talks about the fact that great content will rise to the top. The reality is they're both right. Right? Great content will rise to the top. And yes, there is a limit, but you can win that minute. You can win that 2 minutes. You can win that 3 minutes if each second wins the next second, earns the next second.
Let me ask you a question.
Hang on. Actually, hold on one second. Let Robert get a word in.
There are some frames on this, though, because you can also have some very good content that never gets discovered, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's no distribution or access, or just whatever happened. Right. I think in some cases, I hate to be in the middle on this one, but I think you're both right. And I'm not just going. There's a decay rate on that earning the next minute.
That's right.
Right. And it is really the context. So if you're watching Breaking Bad or Orange is the New Black season just came out, right? Bunch of people binge watching that because they're invested in these characters. They've invested a lot of their time. They're going, and there is now, and the dynamic that changed in broadcast sort of series is that people demand this, and they build up this scarcity for 12 months of the year, basically, right? And you saw this with the Harry Potter books, right? I mean, you've got thousands of pages of this stuff where you go, well, God, who's gonna? And J.K. Rowling was turned down. What kind of kid is gonna read a 300-page book on? Sorry, you just got to cut this down. So good quality will do that, but if you're talking about a hotel that is even a really cool ski resort or beachfront resort, or take the Brando, right? Way out in the middle of Pacific, super green, super luxury. It used to be Marlon Brando's, estate. It's fantastic. Celebrities have stayed there. How much content can you really, can you fill 30 minutes? Maybe, but you start getting into kind of that infomercial type thing, right? Should you? Yeah. Right. Well,
right.
And,
just
because part of the marketing though is
doesn't mean you should.
Hang on, but my point is you have to treat it differently. So if you're just trying to get somebody's attention with a really snappy headline and a teaser or something like that to just kind of draw them in, that's what you want to keep that nice and short. If they don't know a lot about you, how do you draw in? The long form stuff is when people are really invested, really engaged. Then yes, you can start drawing them out longer, and you have an opportunity for them wanting another minute. If you're the new Holiday Inn brand at the north end of DFW Airport, you're going to have a hard time earning any minute, because why should you have another minute?
Have you never not finished a video?
Yes.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
Who
Don't
hasn't?
accept
No. I always watch everyone that starts, even if I accidentally.
I've seen people on trains that couldn't finish watching what they were watching on their little screen because the train was at the top. I've gone to podcasts as engaged as I was. The reason why podcasts should be at a certain length and not at another length is because the return value, however interested they were, goes down by half as much and then half as much again because they didn't get to finish what it is that they started. No matter how interested they were, they ran out of time to get back to the priority of listening to it again, as is videos, as is any consumable content, medium-wise that it is. Now, I agree with everything you're saying about the woman entering the next, the value proposition of quality of content. Content takes as much time as it takes to do it. Do not disagree with it. But I want to say that I add in the factor that there is a perishable amount of opportunity that represents. And therefore, no matter how good, to Robert's point, that it is, there is a lack of the ability to go back. Not lack of interest, not lack of content value, lack of time. Period.
But here, Lauren, here's the thing.
One's opportunity cost. One's opportunity cost to do something else, right?
You're disagreeing with something that Ed and I are not saying.
It's the interruption factor.
You are disagreeing with something that Ed and I are not saying, right? You're ignoring. You're beating up a straw man. You're ignoring something Ed said. I'm quoting Ed precisely because this is, of all the things anybody has ever said on this show, this is among the most brilliant statements anybody's ever made, which is each second needs to earn the next one.
I'm going to make sure we write that down in the show notes.
I really feel like I need to stop being on the show now after that because
they'll never top it.
Yeah, like it's
no, but it's so crucial.
I should like George Costanza this. I'm out.
But it's so crucial. It's so crucial, right? The point, the problem is, I agree with everything Robert said completely and utterly, right? The problem is most people do make their stuff too long. But they don't make it too long because, because people only have so much time or things along those lines. It's because it's only so interesting, right? It's not as interesting to your audience as it is to you. You have to find what's the bit that's interesting to your audience and make each bit
and if you tap
earn
into that,
its spot. Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the topic is. If you figure out how to take the most mundane topic and have it just consume people, for whatever reason it does, then they will watch and continue watching, even though it's kind of a pointless thing. Cat videos. I'm just going to say it. Like, who would have thought 10-hour cat videos needed to exist? And yet, go search funny cat videos on YouTube. There are 10-hour long cat videos
that get watched large chunks
millions and millions of times a day. They get watched.
I'll tell you what, I'll put your cat video analogy to a skydiver and tell me, was he going to pull the cord or finish watching the cat video?
Have you seen the video of the skydiver who jumped without a parachute?
Yes, I did.
That was amazing. But here's the funny thing.
Yeah, but he used a net.
I skipped around because some parts of the video were boring, and I really just wanted to see how he landed. But they could have built that video to keep me watching every second of it.
And actually, that's an excellent point, though.
That makes a great point for you, man. April the giraffe.
Yeah, April the giraffe. Holly refused to come on the show because she wanted to get in the last day of watching it.
Well,
I
don't think we should be the bar.
Well, that's because we didn't earn the competition. We were less interesting than a baby giraffe.
Well, to be fair,
I agree with that.
I agree. No, but listen, it's true in all forms of communication. You have to earn every second of someone's attention, and you can break past the averages, and the reason the averages are so low is because the content sucks.
Well, and even when the content's good, though.
Well, you also made a very good point.
Hang on.
Look, when you're making content that's more interesting for you than it is for your audience, you've lost them. And I used to bitch about that.
This show was a perfect example of that.
In buildings, in fact, only the owner cared about his porte-cochere in his building. The guest wasn't really interested necessarily in the building's configuration,
except for the Hyde Hotel in Hollywood Beach. That's the best portico shot I've seen. I want to stay at the hotel because of the portico.
I guess the car run. What did I think the car was?
I don't know, but it was a
I gotta
Mazda.
go look at it.
Yeah, see, I thought it was something.
It's the best. It like that sets the tone for what to expect at that hotel. Like it's the only time I've seen a portico shot that I was like, holy crap, I want to stay there based on the portico shot.
I gotta go look at this.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, he did.
So even the mundane, even the you should never do this. If you do it right, you're done. You got it.
Right.
I believe in portico shot.
And assume that your I said this at the beginning. I will say it again. Always assume your video is too long and see if you can cut it down shorter. Because they're probably trimming fat. You're probably trimming opportunities for people to go, yeah, this is no longer interesting for me. Right? That is absolutely true.
Just think about boring people to talk to. Why are they boring to talk to? Because they're not earning the conversation.
There you go. That's my life. No. So, no, but look at groups like Red Bull, right? Who do video really, really well, and they tap in, and I mean it's great stuff. Right. But what did Marriott do? They hired some former Disney people. They built that big content studio. I think they've killed those long form video. I mean, they produced the thing with the bellman was kind of interesting, and okay, it was something.
It wasn't interesting.
It was right. It wasn't. Yeah, it was an interesting take of them kind of doing that. The Paris one was really good. I mean, it was really, romantic Paris and isn't as good, but the context with This Is Marriott, it didn't stand on its own. Go watch the movie Midnight in Paris instead.
But again, let's not confuse what we're talking about here. We're talking about your ability to stretch someone and suck them in. That is completely different than like violating other things. Right. So Marriott violated other just general rules of like authenticity and just some crazy stuff, like some crazy no-nos like in that world. And so that's why you probably have a
company brand trying to be a movie production studio. Not a combo.
Don't be what you're not. But do I think Marriott could produce video that could go hours long, that could be correct to their brand and check all the boxes? Absolutely, I think they can.
Actually, that's an excellent point. I think the problem was Marriott, that those videos, the Paris video was for the JW Marriott, and it's just kind of like, if you did it you could probably do something really interesting with the George Cinq or Le Bristol or the Crillon or something like that. But JW America.
If it's well shot, the most mundane things, and I'll give you another example: How It's Made.
Right.
How It's Made has been on the air for as long as I can remember. And you want to know how I know that they just figured out how to take the most random crap and make it interesting? My daughter, who is 6, has liked watching How It's Made since she was 3. Every time it's on, even if it's one she's seen before, she still likes to watch it. Yep. And she's watching crap that is just not interesting. Like, how is a tennis racket made? Really? Like,
that's pretty interesting.
No, it's not.
No, it's really not.
How does paint dry?
All right.
I threw up a couple of links, and I would add to your conversation, Adam, about that. It's not just about the quality of content. It's also about being able to be better at targeting those who would be interested in the content.
Distribution is like the most important form of like the best content in the world. If no one knows it's out there, it's not good content. Like what makes great content is a mix of things.
Right.
Does it compel the user to do whatever the purpose was?
Right.
Does it hit its audience effectively? And, can it stretch beyond the 8 seconds?
There's an old...
And is it good enough to be shared, too?
That's part of does it hit the audience effectively?
Yeah.
There's an
does it reach?
I didn't make this up. This is old direct marketing stuff that has since been applied to email marketing. But to me, a lot of digital is direct marketing. And there's this old truism that when you talk about direct marketing, 40% of the success is in the list, right? Because if you don't send the thing to the right people in the first place, it's going to fail.
Right.
35% is in the subject line. Now, this is obviously more email oriented, but meaning what's the hook? Think title, think stuff like that. Yep. And then The
Quick question, by
the
the
other
way.
25% is in the message itself. But what it means is you have to have the right audience first.
Yeah.
And if you don't have the right audience,
Yeah,
almost
well,
nothing
But
else
that's
will work.
with people writing novels. That's it. It's
Yeah.
like it's always the first sentence to grab them. Right? That's some sort of
The stats
interesting-
again. I didn't type it fast enough. 40% is the list.
40% is the list. 35% is the subject line. 25% is the message.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense.
and that's 105%.
40, 35, 25.
Oh yeah,
That would be it's okay.
I think you said 45. I'm like,
No, 40, 35, 25.
Ed has trouble.
105%.
Ed has trouble adding those 2-digit numbers. Just,
But I mean, if
know,
you think
so-
about it, if you put the best message in front of the wrong audience, it doesn't matter, right?
Nope.
Whereas obviously you want a great message, but a poorer
Well-
message in front of a great audience is going to have more likelihood of success than a great message in front of a terrible audience.
and at the right time
Message
too.
the offer.
Right? You can
Absolutely.
get- actually, I'll rant a little bit. I was on a
Yes, Holly.
webinar. Oh, what's this? What about the offer? Yes, that is.
Yeah. Yes.
That is part of.
That's part of the
Actually,
message.
though, I'll tell you, I did a webinar with Focusrite and Adobe and Princess Cruises, right? And it was good. You know, everything was great. But one of the examples given from Princess Cruises, you know, they're talking about how they did things and it was great stuff and great results. But one of the their kind of last slide kind of hit me wrong because they showed week over week performance and it was just a stunning graph, right? And you kind of went, wow, look at that. They put in this new digital marketing platform and look where, well, it started December 4th and you have wave season for cruises. So that could have just completely been the natural flow of how volume picks up over that period of time. But again, some of these things, I mean, if you're a ski resort or something like that, unless you're in, South America, you're in Chile or something like that, May, June may not be the best time to deliver that message. And it may, you may have great content, you may have a great list, and it's just, we aren't thinking about that.
But I would include that. I mean, I'm playing a little fast and loose with these numbers at the moment, but I'd include that in the list, right? I mean, you have to know when the audience is right.
Yeah, timing's key.
The audience is right.
Right. I put
like
a link
you don't see H&R Block hitting you up in August.
Right, exactly. Because they know that their list doesn't care then, right?
Mm-hmm.
I put up this link because nobody should watch
unboxing videos. My gosh! And you know who is like the most enthralled with unboxing videos? Children.
Yeah.
Holy smokes!
But the reason I put this up, this is a video I did, right?
Oh,
I got a new guitar and I unboxed a guitar.
Look at that!
Okay. And in 3 years, with zero promotion, with zero effort, because I did this literally, I was just curious. Does anybody watch this crap?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, this was
you got 17,000 views.
17,000 views. I've got about a little over 6,000, almost 6,000 views per year. Less than per year, actually, because it went up the end of December 2014. So 2.5 years, 17,000 views with zero promotion because it appeals to people who like guitars, especially nice guitars. This is a relatively high-end guitar. And like unboxing videos. It was shot on my damn iPhone in the family room of my house with crap lighting, right? A little bit of editing, just because I cut out long, boring bits. It is 8.5 minutes long. I've got the full stat on it. People watch pretty much 100% of the thing. And this is a terrible, terrible video.
Yeah, I didn't hear what you say. I'm watching. Wow, there's an inner box and that heavy foam, and that's this is riveting stuff.
I'll give you a quick little success story of somebody that did something you're talking about, Tim, but actually changed his career life for it. A really great content writer that when I was at the agency in Dallas, one of the best content writers I had the privilege of working with, comes into me one day. He says, "Lauren, says I need your advice." I'm like, "Okay, fine." He was a professional target shooter.
Yeah,
and really good at it, so forth. Really, contrary to his normal personality being quite intimate, here he is, this amazing shooter. And he said, I did an unbox video of talking about a particular gun piece item that attaches to this, so forth. And I talked about what I thought was good and bad, kind of a review and unboxing. And he says, I got massive feedback that the manufacturer reached out to me and asked if I could write for them on stuff. And it was like, oh, okay. Well, I said, yes. Well, what's the problem? He says, well, now that's kind of grown where all the other stuff that I kind of did that for, all those people are talking to me and asking me to put stuff together for them as well. And it's really, I have to choose whether I'm going to do that or this. And I'm like, dude, what do you want to do? He says, I love that stuff. He says, then why are you asking me a silly question for, You do it. Yeah, go off and be. And he literally started doing what he does now, where it's not unboxing per se, it's reviews and so forth, but he's sponsored. And he does part of that process is the video unboxing and a very well written, because he's a great content writer, piece about what he felt and did and reviewed it and so forth. And that's his thing now. He sits at home.
By the way, I have no interest in making unboxing videos for a living.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to say, hey, you should think this out.
A toaster. I got a new toaster.
If you saw a path to make more money doing unboxing videos than you currently make doing what you do, you'd be like, I am the unboxing king.
You know what? You got to never make your hobby your business.
I'm too late for that.
Make your hobby your business.
See, I disagree with that. Business is my hobby.
Yeah.
Business is my hobby, but don't make your hobby your business.
I'll
give you another perfect example of just like being good at content. One of my favorite automotive writers got his fame off of writing about the most ridiculous thing. And what he was writing about was buying a Land Rover from CarMax and buying their extended warranty and just measuring over time what the value of that was. So the premise started getting viewership because the premise is actually pretty interesting. Like, well, we all know Land Rovers are wicked expensive to fix. Like, even if you don't know cars, like say Land Rover, people are like, and what was amazing is it sucked me in. He was just a blog writer at that point. He's now a writer for Auto Trader. And I follow him on Auto Trader because he writes really interesting stuff. He's gone into like, pick what my next car I'm going to buy is, and I'll write about it for a year. And so he's had like some of the craziest cars. And then based on whatever car it is, he comes up with an interesting premise to write about. His name's Doug DeMuro, and he's a fantastic writer and content creator. He does videos. His videos are really good. The guy understands how to get content that stretches you and stretches what you would do, because I followed the guy because I just wanted to see if CarMax would continue to honor his $800. It cost him like $800 or $1,000, and it worked out over 3 or 4 years. They fixed to the tune of like $23,000, $24,000 in issues.
Yeah. Wow. But that's been going, pre-internet. There was a guy when I first lived in Dallas who was, at the time, the Dallas Times-Herald was one of the local newspapers, and he was the movie reviewer, and actually had won like a Pulitzer Prize. And so, he was good at what he did, but that wasn't his claim to fame. He became Joe Bob Briggs because he wrote a little column every Friday, which was Joe Bob Goes to the Drive-In, and he
would go to those like terrible movies,
slasher movies, and he had little ratings at the bottom, like how many severed heads, how many motor vehicle chases with crash and burn. And it was excellent. It was outstandingly, it was informative, I guess, if you like that. But it was so funny because, he'd always say like way too much plot getting in the way of the action and stuff like that. But it was, and the guy made millions. He wound up with a Showtime thing, and he just nurtured that.
Right. So the thing to walk away with.
Find your audience.
This is to erode the argument that a hotel shouldn't attempt to write compelling content because of what they are, because I guarantee you most of Joe Bob Briggs's viewers had very little interest in slasher films. They were reading it because it was entertaining.
Absolutely.
Well, they got a different break.
If you're the new intercontinental brand at DFW Airport North with no name or whatever whatever you wind up being, if you can write really interesting how to get in and out of DFW Airport painlessly or something like that, or how to do
airport blog,
whatever. But whatever it may be, something that can really help people solve a real problem. Then all of a sudden you can get traffic, and then you can start. And then you go, hey, you know what? I have no idea. We've got a transit stop. You can go. You stay here, you can go to the Texas OU football game. So not only can we solve the airport thing for you, but we can get to wherever. Or I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
But that goes back to knowing your customer, knowing your audience, and saying, are we putting the right content out there for the people we're talking to?
Yep, to serve your audience, not to serve you.
And understanding those personas of those individuals is so critically important.
Right.
I mean,
so often just completely, we're writing it for the executive committee of the hotel. Who's just opening this hotel, and they're very excited about the hotel because they've been working on it for a year and it's going to be great, and they're all totally invested, and it just completely, oblivious. Everybody else, they don't care about any of this stuff, right?
I put up some links in combination with our conversation with some of the grab bag stuff we had that goes to the defining your audience aspect of our conversation. That with the dissemination or the soon-to-be unraveling of how we consume content, this ever-growing cutting the cable mentality, or the more pervasive use of platforms into a more mainstream engagement, like putting it on your TV and so forth, that this ability to do programmatic advertising and like the YouTube one that I posted up there about VR-centric video analytics is in the aspect of the new 360 engagement value, that now there's heat mapping basically for 360 videos that Google is making more and more available as time rolls out, to understand what is being engaged with the content that you're providing in the 360 world. So all these kind of are, and related to some of our conversations of being able to better define people that would be interested in the content. I'd like to add one other thing to what you had mentioned, Robert, was, you look at something like a Home Depot has done a very good job of creating very good consumable, easily to digest content about things that are relatively mundane, but are keenly interested to the person that's looking for it.
They built an entire business on people resolving mundane problems of trying to get this stuff done.
Yeah. They found a great way of making mundane things, or things that you wish you knew but didn't know. And then you add things like thrill lists, lists like that give great exposure to the unique value of the content they're providing. So finding that audience and giving them the content they're wanting goes to that focusing of it. So I want to just make sure we pointed those out in our conversation.
Can we move? Because I'm dying. I want to make sure we get on the topic of Uber's CEO quitting.
Oh, yeah, I know you want to get to him. You want to do the.
I want to make one point.
Can I ask what's
so sorry. I should have made a how-to video on replacing the trackpad in my Lenovo.
You really should have.
4.5 hours. 4.5 hours of taking apart. Everything had to come out. Everything. It was in.
You would have had 27,000 views by now.
Oh yeah,
might have actually. Yeah.
I might. Oh no. Well, no, and actually,
you did it as a how-to.
No, well, I went to Lenovo. Okay, so my trackpad starts.
Wait,
weird.
We're not the audience for this story.
Yeah, we don't want to go into this.
No.
It's all good.
But here's the problem with these things, and it doesn't matter. I mean, replace a. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Trackpad.
Yes. Yeah. I got one of those. Too. That my.
One of these things is not like the others.
Yeah. All right, all at once. Ready? All at once.
Thanks, guys. Regardless, but I went. But okay, but I've got this. But I've got. Well, no, I wound up replacing the keyboard too, but it's
nice mini keyboard,
different keyboard. Sorry,
but the issue was, here I've got this computer. My choice is, do I want to go buy a $1,700 replacement or something? Yeah, whatever it's going to be.
Was it going to be an Apple? Because that would have been a better choice.
It was not going to be an Apple. No.
Then it would have been a better choice.
The brand new iPad Pro, which is really nice too.
Yeah, well, I've got a Surface. You've got
a Surface to put drinks on. That's correct.
Okay.
No, Surface Pro.
So back to Uber.
But no, hang on. The challenge was Lenovo couldn't help me, right? Because it was a month. It was a month to get the parts, and it wasn't Lenovo who did it. It was.
Did they just not repeat to you that you bought a Lenovo?
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Lenovo is loosely translated. We don't. We don't know why it works.
But again, I got the parts online. But actually, I even went to the top. I called the guys who are the top repair, computer repair place and they repair Apples too. They do they just said, nah, we can't really do that. So you wind up doing it yourself.
My buddy, who was an old Lenovo guy, real quick, has decided he only uses Chromebooks now.
Yeah.
Because no, he's got a good reason for it. I don't know that I completely agree with him, but exactly right. If it breaks, he just throws it away and gets a new one. It's not worth the effort. It's a few $100s, and if it breaks, buy another one for a few $100s. It's cheaper than the repair.
All right.
So
Uber.
So first of all, I want to put out there, it's a joke I've been dying to say. They are now the first true driverless company.
That's right. Driverless car company.
That's right.
No CEO, no CFO, no COO.
I really just want to talk about it because I believe a few months ago, I was saying that Uber will not exist in the future. This game they play will not continue. And I believe there was some resistance to that mindset. And so this is my I told you. So this is the beginning of the end of Uber. Okay. And here's why.
I believe I was providing the resistance. It wasn't necessarily Uber itself. It was the going toward the logistics and things like that. And Kalanick, I think this is an interesting discussion because it
was Holly. She just admitted it.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll tell you what, Uber sucking, Uber being evil human beings saved Lyft.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Utterly saved Lyft.
Yeah,
for sure.
The vacuum from their suck left room for Lyft.
That's exactly right.
This is it's a fascinating story though, because you have all the VCs behind it. They knew the CEO was an asshole from day one, but he produced. Because I've seen there all sorts.
That was
of
their
people,
whole. You just
there are people pushing back, going.
Not produce. Their cash produced.
Oh no! I know. No, but they produced
without their cash. There would be
absolutely. They
Uber
had.
Was the perfect example of with access to unlimited amounts of capital, you can hit scale. But can you hit sustainable scale? No. Because if tomorrow you pulled Uber's capital away, it would be a matter of days before they went into uselessness, like no value whatsoever. Because to continue...
I have a question about this. I have a question. So I've mentioned before Ben Thompson at Stratechery, a guy who I like a lot. I think he's very smart. He has a point that I need to articulate as clearly as I can. And I don't know that this is the first time I've said this out loud, so I may articulate it badly. I want to be really clear, right? His argument is that with Kalanick gone, they're already starting to do things with taking their eye off the ball on this stuff. And he's not giving Kalanick credit. He's simply saying that where Kalanick was correct was to win today at something like Uber, it's not important to control the supply. It's important to control the demand.
Absolutely.
Right? And so he said things like they've just added tipping.
That's the beginning of the tipping.
And his point is, and this is exactly what I want to get your thoughts on. His point is by adding tipping, they're screwing up because they're increasing friction for the rider, which is actually where they need to win.
Yep.
He's not saying it's bad for people to tip. I want to be really clear. He's not taking the approach that tipping is bad, or he thought that all along Uber should pay the drivers more, right? So it's not about tipping or not tipping.
And
it's about creating friction for the customer, which ultimately is going to hurt them.
And Lyft took a very interesting approach with their strategy for tipping, because they saw Uber taking off, who had this clear lead, and they looked at it, especially Uber's big problem back then was surge pricing was out of control, right? It was going to 800%. It was just crazy stuff, right? There was like no cap. But then they looked and said, wait a second, let's get drivers who are going to go earn more here just all the time. They'll be more loyal to us, and then they'll do, whatever. So that was probably good, but is it a winning strategy where you capture that category, or are you just kind of a near follower who's always the
so listen, here's the thing. Uber's strategy was a conquering strategy, not a winning strategy. Because to win, you need to be able to survive. To be able to survive, you need to have a defendable position in the world. And the only defense they ever had was their ability to raise cash.
Right.
And then effectively deploy that cash to buy the hearts of their customers. And so here's the thing. You add tipping to the equation, Uber just raised prices instantly. There are people who just avoid cabs because they hate tipping for the ride. They just think the ride should be a flat fee. All those people are out. They're out. Okay.
But Uber's never been about drivers, though. I think
but they pretended to be. They pretended that it was
now they're trying to be by adding tipping, which is
But here's the thing: they're missing the point. So they're now hitting an identity crisis at a time where they can't afford to hit an identity crisis. They need to continue to be the assholes because they're not at a point of stability yet. No. Listen. They're not at a point of stability
not
yet.
to the level of assholery that they were at.
Right. They should
tone down a little.
Wait, can we make a distinction here between asshole and evil?
Right. I mean,
there are points of diminishing returns
sending people to India to investigate a rape victim to find out whether or not it was a setup by your competitors. That's evil.
Well,
that's not
actually,
being an
it's telling.
I'm related to some
because
assholes.
I'm sorry.
I'm not related
if you're
to people
suspicious
who are
of
evil.
someone for doing something, it's because you can see yourself doing it.
That's total projection is what that is.
Right. But here's been my constant problem with Uber. The idea was a good idea. The methodologies they took to bring that idea to market was probably one of the only ways you could do it at that scale. What they have never successfully done is displayed their ability to be defendable long term. So
I have a question about that, though.
Sure.
And I haven't given a lot of thought to Uber as a business in this way, so I'm really curious for your point of view. What about network effects? I mean, if they are quite literally the only ride
paid for right now, though, they're not real network effects.
No. I'm saying, but if they got to if they had done everything correct to get to the scale that they should have, I mean, if they hadn't screwed up a couple of things, the switching from Google to try to do their own self-driving car, things along those lines, right? Switching. Again, I'm getting all of this secondhand, and I don't have an opinion on this, But the way I've heard it expressed, was literally they had somebody from Google on their board, and literally the day before Google I/O or 2 days before Google I/O last year, I want to say it was maybe the year before, that board member called and said, "Oh, by the way, we're announcing self-driving cars and a car service tomorrow at Google I/O." And so basically you're screwed, right? And the rest of the Uber board and Travis Kalanick basically said, yeah, we can't be dependent on these folks. And then they decided to go in their own direction.
Right.
Ironically, the guy from the board, the Google guy, called back like an hour later, was like, not kidding. We're not really going to launch a service. We changed our minds. But they just decided they couldn't be that dependent on.
Well, but here's the thing. They got woken up to the fact that, so Google has network effect. Facebook has network effect. A stupid app that you use need-based only. See, this is the problem. Facebook and Google are not just need-based networks.
No, for sure.
Right? So network effect on need-based alone is really easy to disrupt because all you have to do to disrupt it is do a better job of filling the need that created the network.
I don't know that I agree with that.
But again, I disagree. Uber was never a taxi company. They were a logistics company because they wanted, and they did. They went and acquired the guys who did the 18-wheeler, the long-range stuff. They were into screw FedEx, screw UPS. This is all going to be Uber. We are going to be the transportation grid. That was
right, but they weren't good at it.
Yeah, and
they propped themselves up by cheating.
Oh no,
this has been my problem with Uber all along.
Sure.
They have mistaken their early cheating to cheat the unfair games being played as we should cheat at everything we do.
Right.
And so this is what I'm saying. Their idea was good. Their initial approach to how do you get this idea
absolutely
to the masses was probably the only way you could do it. Where they failed is misunderstanding where to go from there. And where they misunderstood is they felt like the world saw them as, hey, it's okay to cheat. It's okay to play dirty because hey, you're saving me money. That's what they probably thought in their heads.
Oh, well, and
they were playing.
And investors just kept throwing more money at them.
Yeah,
right.
Win at all costs. Who cares? Yeah,
right. And so the complete lack of understanding that is not a long-term strategy. It's just not. You can't continue to cheat.
No, you're right.
And
you're right.
No, that's true. But I think if Kalanick wasn't if they had developed,
let's call it what it is. He is evil.
No, right. If he was not
morally,
evil, you had
morally compromised,
bankrupt. Yeah,
morally bankrupt.
Yes.
Better word.
Yeah. So yes, there would have been certain things they might have grown more slowly, but they wouldn't have been 70 billion, but they probably would have been 40 billion.
They're not 70 billion today.
Well, no, I know, but
let's talk about real valuation here.
It's
in
probably
real
30
terms, not even.
Oh, no.
Take
If you're
cash on hand,
no, yeah. You look at the pure cash flow sort of thing.
Just their assets and cash flow.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet you they're under 15 billion. And this is the thing that I've always looked at with Uber. Uber is the epitome of the insanity of Silicon Valley.
Sure.
It is the epitome of it, and it will go down as the poster child of what's wrong with that insanity, because they can't IPO now. They can't IPO for a very long time. They have to raise more cash because they're burning cash faster every quarter. So they are going to have a problem of their next round is probably going to be a down round. And when you talk about a unicorn doing a down round, that's enough to dry up capital. You dry up capital, then they have to go to traditional forms of financing, which is fine if you have cash flow and assets. They don't have a lot of cash flow and assets. So Uber, listen, tomorrow Mark Zuckerberg passes away, Facebook will live on for a very long time because Facebook is entrenched and is hard to undo. Okay, they have caught the behavior. They are habit to so many people. They worked in the network correctly that even a fool will be able to run that company for decades before it is either bankrupt or purchased. Right?
So I got to run in a couple minutes. I have to run pretty soon. Ed, I think I mostly agree with you. You said one thing that I would push back on, and this one isn't semantic. This is meaningful, and I think it has relevance to folks who are watching this who are hoteliers or hotel marketers. So that's a point I want to make and fully acknowledge you might be able to shoot this full of holes because I'm just kind of thinking this through at the moment, right? But you said that Google and Facebook have this needs-based.
No. Uber has a need-based.
I'm sorry. Whereas Google and Facebook have legitimate network effects, which is absolutely, undoubtedly true. Mm-hmm. I would say that I think you're discounting, and I think this is important for hoteliers when we talk about somebody like Airbnb, right? I think you're discounting the importance of having the other factors around a business that you make available to make the business sustainable and make the business grow in a way that works. And I'll give a real world example. Google has done very well with Android being the operating system on phones, right? Mm-hmm. Google has not done well, for the most part, with its own phones, right? The Pixel has not done well. Yep. I mean, it did okay. It wasn't a flop. It just wasn't a big
but it
success.
Wasn't a Galaxy.
But it wasn't a smash. Right. And I think if they wanted to get into offering the service of transportation, I think they'd face the same problems they ran into with trying to offer a phone, right? They don't have a lot of the business infrastructure in place to make the service a guaranteed win. It's not that it would fail.
But you know who could? Amazon.
Yeah.
Oh,
and I'll tell you why. Because
sure.
Amazon is a fantastic logistics company.
For sure.
Absolutely.
And
but I guess
Amazon has the network effect.
For sure.
It has the network effect. It has excellent management, and it has access to a lot of very inexpensive capital because Bezos trained the market not to be looking for profits. He basically said,
and also access
go invest
to
in
your local neighborhood now, right?
Right.
Somebody on Twitter, I'd give credit if I knew who said it, said, when they bought Whole Foods, they went from being, within 20 miles of most of the population to being in the same neighborhood as most of the population. I actually did a podcast about this yesterday, which I'm not going to promote right now. But the point is that what Uber did put in place was, the infrastructure for the service in the local markets and the like, by cheating, by doing a bunch of other things. But I don't know that Google necessarily could step in and do that as well.
But others could.
And for sure.
And the consumer's already open.
And they have. Oh no, they do. And when Uber and Lyft pulled out of Austin, other groups came.
Right. And I guess the reason I want to bring this up specifically is if I'm a hotel, there was a story this week. Do we have this in the links, Lauren? There was a story this week about how Airbnb wants to act more like a hotel.
No, it was last week.
The more they want to do that, the better hotels are off. Better off hotels are, right?
Because they're trying to be what they're not.
Because they're trying to be what they're not, right?
Yeah, we had it last week's when the notes were.
Got it. Okay, all right. Well, nonetheless, it's I just think that that's something that hotels should look at, and hotel marketers and hotel operators to say, we can
so what's
beat
important,
these
Tim,
guys
is
by being good at what we're good at.
We don't actually disagree on what you just said. Like, I completely agree with what you said. Like, Google would have a challenge stepping into it, but I also think they could. And I think they could and stay there. Like, would they be the lead player? Not unless they end up being the lead player in driverless technology. Because if they end up being the lead player in driverless technology, because that's who's going to win, by the way. Whoever wins driverless technology
wins transportation as a service.
Transportation as a service.
Right.
Exactly. And so, I actually think, like, if you compare Lyft to Uber, I am far more bullish on Lyft. I think Lyft will be around for a very long time. And part of the reason for that is, unlike Uber, Lyft has really good partnerships with the people that Uber scared, which was amazing. That was an amazing strategy, the GM relationship, the Jaguar relationship, because that means Lyft can invest in their choice of driverless technology, and GM is investing in theirs, and Jaguar is investing in theirs. If one of them are right, Lyft stays.
Right.
So they're 3 times more likely to be the winner in that arena, because if it's GM, they've got the partnership. If it's Jag, they've got the partnership. And if it's them, huzzah, they won.
Yeah.
Well, or if it's not any of them and it's somebody else, then it's
as long as it's not Uber. Right.
Before you leave, I want to go. There's sometimes that you all say things that make me stop in my tracks and make me go off on these things. I carried on with the conversation, wrote notes about what we were talking about. Amazingly excellent points, but there's one statement you made that resonated with me that made me think of implications to other aspects of it. You made in reference to the CEO of Uber, which I never can pronounce his name right, when you said he made the statement that he was right on that. It's not as important to control the supply as it is to control the demand. And that kind of fills up, how people have jigsaw puzzles and there's pieces that are missing and then some things drop into place with some stuff. And I think for me personally, it resonated with one aspect. You just defined iPhones for me, iPods for me.
Oh, yeah.
Uber for me.
Yeah.
Because what you're really offering is that Uber, to everything that you all have discussed, Uber will be passed into some iteration. But what it did was it presented a solution that nobody knew they had a problem for. They knew that taxis were very asymmetric and competitive, and they structured their prices, and it was never to the benefit of the rider or the consumer, it was to the owner of the company and so forth. And Uber came in and disrupted that. And to your point, Ed, they had to be assholes about that. They had to go in and just push and push.
Yeah, because they were fighting an unfair fight.
They were fighting. They played by the rules that they were entering the game with. And
because the taxi industry wasn't had really unfair.
They didn't know when to stop that and transition into and for the most part, for me as a consumer, and I'm not saying to me is a market of one, but I saw Uber as I know they're being pushy and being assholes and so forth, but they entered into a space that I already feel like I was getting taken advantage of anyway, and they created a solution I didn't even know was possible. So I was fine for them. And
I guess I'm too moral. I have too much of a moral compass to sit by idly when companies like that do that.
But here's the other thing. I don't think they had to be assholes. And I think in our industry, we see it all the time. I don't think Airbnb are assholes. I don't. I have some issues with some things that they do, but I wouldn't call evil,
Right.
right?
Well,
I think they challenge the status quo, and I
Right.
think there are times.
war and business.
Wait, give me a second. Wait, hold on. Let me defend my statement for 1 second. I definitely don't think that they compete on a level playing field, right? I think that they are held to a different standard than hotels are in a lot of cases, from a safety perspective, from a regulation perspective, from an insurance perspective, et cetera. But I don't think they cheat, right? I don't think they are assholes, and I certainly don't think they're evil. I think they play a fairly competitive game, right? And have been not always a level playing field with hotels. In fact, consistently not a level playing field.
No, and they don't want to. And they took a page from the Uber book, which was do not ask for permission. That takes too long. Just do it. Get scale,
and where they spend their money,
especially because of the demand. If the whole theory was, if you've got this large group, we go, we like that will then carry, that wave. You'll surf that wave.
And they did a lot of things that were positive for the hosts, right? And they took a lot of their money and they went and bought politicians. I'm sorry, they lobbied to get the regulations changed in the different cities. But they didn't do things like Grayball that Uber did, where they software to say, we're going to identify people who might be regulators and then not pick them up.
You made a great example with
a very different reality, right?
Well, the projection stuff you talked about with the India example, obviously it was in their wheelhouse of thought that would be something that could be done to them because they thought about doing it to somebody else. So that evilness transcended past the point of usability and functionality. There should be a moral. There is a business moral. I mean, nothing's fair in business, love and war kind of thing. And so, but there is a business morality to it. But what I'm trying to make is a point with this demand part. If you look at it, everything about, like I mentioned, the iPods, the iPhones, and so forth, were disruptions, for lack of a better buzzword. Offering a value proposition where there was not a perceived need for it or awareness that there could be a need for it. In other words, you AKA created the demand for it. And then not by controlling the supply, but by controlling the demand, the supply had its value. And to take this to what we do the show for, from a hospitality perspective, Robert, you made the point, you keep referring to the no-name Holiday Inn on the north end of DFW, blah, blah, blah. When you make content that satisfies that demand versus supply factor, there's hotel rooms everywhere. But what you're showing is the demand for you is translated to an answering a question or a content solution to a user. You've created the demand for what you are compared to your competitor in market, regardless of
you've harvested the demand that exists there.
True. Yes.
Holiday Out is a great concept, right? I mean, that would be it's a great product, right? So you gotta go develop, do it. But another thing I throw out, Ritz Carlton Hotels is now doing cruise ships, right? 3 cruise ships, only I think 298 passengers or something per ship. They're targeting the top 1% of the population, which actually in the U.S. is like 1 million households or something.
Right.
So you kind of go 3 ships. There's a lot. Now, 1% in the world is actually much lower than anybody ever thinks from an income perspective. But again,
China's
that's
a lot of 1%.
By the way, leading hotels, I want to give credit where due. Leading Hotels has been doing this for years. They didn't certify the ships. We just did it as partnerships with, here are ships that meet the same exact
Silver Seas, Seabourn, whatever.
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see what Ritz. I have no doubt from a product perspective they can do. They'll make great ships. They'll be beautiful and things like that. It'll be interesting how they compete against the Seabourns and the Silver Seas and things like that, because I worked for John Richards, who actually was the VP of marketing for Royal Viking Cruise Lines. Brilliant guy who later became the president of Starbucks, right? In their real growth years. Was working for Howard Schultz, but president of North America. But he taught me a lot about the cruise industry. Is the ship is not the product. And this might be where Ritz blows it. It's the itinerary, and it's the timing of that itinerary that is what you're selling. And they've got to be, with only 3 ships, they've got to be really, really good at it. But I believe what they're going to do is they're going to just look exactly what Disney did, because Disney kind of had they started with 2 ships, go to 3. They're going to just do that. And I don't know. We'll see for that. I think they'll get a market, but I don't know if it's going to be that outstanding, true, amazing cruise experience where it's really, wow, we spend a hell of a lot of money, but it was fantastic. Because again, these brands are doing, Four Seasons is doing their private jets, right? I think it's 20 days around the world, $120,000 per person. Right, so you got $250,000. You and your significant other can go around the world for 3 weeks. They're doing some pretty interesting stuff using their hotels and putting in really interesting itineraries.
Yeah, and they ripped that off from. There's a travel company that's been doing that for a while.
No. And Four Seasons doesn't run those planes are the same ones that run National Geographic and Abercrombie and Kent and everything. There's actually a group who does who does the planes, and everybody uses.
I wonder if Fitch was mad that Abercrombie partnered with Kent on that one.
But, one of the
my daughter is an Abercrombie and Fitch employee. I want you to know.
Oh.
One of the reasons that's such a complicated business. So in my leading years, in addition to, I don't know if you guys know this, I don't ever talk about this. I actually ran a luxury online travel agency for 4 years during my time at leading. Well, 3 years. We shut it down in my 4th year there.
So some would say you ran it into the ground?
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
No, that's fair.
The way you painted that just left too much open.
That's actually true. That's a story. That's a story for beers someday. The reality was we were very profitable and made good money every year. What we couldn't do was grow because there were some equity issues that involved where capital was coming from that caused interesting things. Nonetheless.
So you ran it well.
We ran it profitably. Ran it profitably. How's that? But what is really challenging about that business specifically, when you talk about, cruise lines, when you talk about tour operators and things like that, particularly for that demographic, is it's a fashion industry.
Absolutely.
Right? In that, what was cool last year is no longer cool because I've already done that. So it was that continually evolving. What is the cool trip? What is the thing you haven't done before? What haven't you seen before? I got to tell you, having done that for a few years, that was freaking hard, man.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the hardest things I've ever.
Man, budget is much better.
Oh, budget is so much easier.
Yeah, mainstream. You can just
economy, mass market, so much easier.
Look at what happened to all the cruise lines with the exposure in Turkey, right? They're all going to Istanbul and everything, and all of a sudden and they've got the ships, and you just can't pick up and go, well, the ship isn't going to be here; it's going to go there because you've got ports and all. There's a whole bunch of fixed costs and itineraries that you can't get out of these deals, sort of thing. So you're committed.
Great learning experience. I'll be happy if I never have to do it again.
It's a tough business.
Looking at the time, I really, really do have to run. I could stay here all afternoon because it's great conversation as ever, but I do need to get out.
It was a pleasure having you, Tim.
Yes, Mr. Tim, where can we find you?
Always a pleasure. timpeter.com, or I am on Twitter using the handle @TCPeter. And I'll see you all next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.
We do have a guest host next week, actually.
Who's guest hosting next week?
You had to ask, and now my mind went, think. I will have to go over look it up before we finish the show today to talk about it because, Ed, who's it we're getting?
Not Vikram.
Not Vikram, right? Vikram's in a few weeks.
We talked to him yesterday.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Was it this guy named Tom that I saw an email about?
No.
Sorry.
Thanks for asking, because
Travis Kalanick. He can come back and defend himself.
I put all the schedule itineraries, and I got to go look at my itinerary real quick and tell you who it is because I got hit. Because Ed's been great about bringing guest speakers. Holly's been great about bringing guest speakers.
Tim's been shitty at it. Robert.
Robert doesn't know anybody, so and Tim's friends don't want to hang out with us. Tim's friends don't want to hang out with us, so they're too cool.
They aren't cool enough. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, please.
All right, so we have
my friends are cool. My friends don't want to hang out with me
as a guest host, Tim. So
we have a mystery guest host coming next week.
Fantastic. Well, I will look forward to it.
Have a great weekend.
As always.
Have a great weekend, guys. I'll see you next week.
Take care. Thank you.
We had HITEC next week.
Yeah.
Oh, well, enjoy. I'll see you.
Robert will.
I'll see you
have fun
next
with
week
that.
anyway. Bye.
In the meanwhile, ironically, okay, so I made the email that I sent out to our list of people, and I put on it one article, which I thought was a great blog post from Website Magazine for point of discussion, not because of full-body content, but just an interesting progression, which was the Pirate Metrics Acquisition, Activation, Retention, Referral, Revenue, or R, which I thought was kind of a cute play on it. And we talked nothing about it. So this might be the first show that I feature the topic that we never talked to, but I'll throw up the link anyway. And didn't know if you had any of the chance to peek at it.
Nope.
I didn't think so.
By the way, this is what happens when you send the link like at midnight the night before.
Latest news.
Breaking news. That's right.
Late
24-hour news cycle, Ed. You got to get with it.
Yeah, you got to keep on the edge, man. I don't want last year's shit. I mean,
Dude, your link doesn't even go to an article.
Doesn't? Uh-oh.
No, it just goes to a blog of articles.
Oh, no, you pick up the one off of it. Sorry. I should have gone to the one in direct. I probably picked up the shorter one of it. But no, just at face value, the process of acquisition, activation, retention, referral, and revenue. It's probably the main gist of this, the idea behind it that I thought was of interest.
Well, before we get too deep into that, I have to run too because I just noticed it's almost time for my next call. And if I want to eat lunch, I need to do that now.
You do need to eat lunch. And one last thing, Marriott cancels its 24-hour cancellation policy.
Yeah, that was a biggie.
We knew that was going to come.
48 hours now.
Yeah.
No more same-day stuff, which lends itself with the confidence factor in the market.
Well, no, there's still some that are same. There's still some that are same day. Yeah. So.
Well, we can throw that in because that's a market confidence strategy thing that I'm sure we can talk about at greater lengths for.
Yeah.
Mr. Ed,
we should talk about that next week. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is an interesting one as to the ramifications of what that means. Not so much the actual event itself, but what does that mean in perception. But Mr. Ed, if people want to find you, sir, or what you're interested in, where can they find you?
Well, you can go to www.flip.to, or you can find me on social media at any form of Edward StOnge. And I will see you guys next week. I will not be here the week after because I will be on vacation.
Yeah. And just
where are you headed on vacation?
Venturing far to Hammock Beach, which is about an hour from Orlando, but it's a great resort.
Oh, hey. East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, just south of St. Augustine.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Well, we can take the Keys logo hours away, but was it miles from anything or something? Their little catchphrase, it's only hours away, but miles away from everything. So yeah, same mentality, hour away, but
Keys are many hours away from Orlando. Many, many hours.
That's right.
Virginia is closer.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
See ya.
Take care. Mr. Roberts, sir.
We have anything left to talk about? Nah.
Well, a couple of things. Mary, I definitely will toss it in next week's conversation.
Yeah.
Google, an article out of Cody, which is a great meta-search platform user or dashboard, really, pointed out that Google is now testing their placement versus name. They're putting it in front rather than behind or in the mixed up with the content that they're providing as the results, which I'm sure is part of an A/B testing that they're seeing as to
absolutely
that.
And they will everything will be tested like that. Just whatever works a little bit better. And I'm really convinced. I mean, I can go through my little process on this. Well, and it's almost now how I shop. If I wind up spending my own money, I will go out and I will look at like a booking.com. If it's a speculative trip, right? I don't know if I'm going to take it or not, but that's what I actually did for HITEC. I was originally thinking I'm going there, paying my own way, that sort of thing. So I wound up, booking a hotel, and I got one for under a couple $100 a night, and it's great location, right on the transit. Everything's fantastic. No worries at all. But it wasn't. They have my credit card, but cancelable on whatever 24 hour notice. So that's good. I had that locked in, and then I could go look around at all the different little spots of Hotwire, Priceline Express deals, things like that, and see if someone's going to freak out and have a lower price. And in Toronto, for HITEC next week, that's not happening. The prices are all going up. You can't get a room for under $300 a night at all. So I've got a great people like, how did you get that? You're just, because I wound up deciding, and actually now I'm going with a company. I'm working with somebody who's actually footing the bill, and I'm saving them a ton of money. Going, oh, I already got something. They're thrilled, right? So
I think you should book a reservation in an alternate hotel or the same hotel you're in. Get the listing of that confirmation, and then send it and submit it as a cost expense, and go for per diem.
Oh, yeah. Well, since we did discuss evil.
That's right. I mean, we are talking evil, so
okay.
That's an evil
Since
thing,
we're
right?
just wrapping up here, let's change topics on embezzlement. I worked for a gentleman.
Where's the line? Just keep pushing the line out a little bit farther.
Yeah,
hey,
I worked for.
That we had not brought up is the last one that you had contributed for, and that was brand to independent. I mean, yes, I do.
Oh, no, we can talk about that later. I want to talk about embezzlement. No. This is a great story, and it's a perfect closing. So there was a gentleman I worked for. The organization will go unnamed, but there was a gentleman there who had previously worked for another hotel company, had left under somewhat questionable circumstances suddenly, but nobody really knew about it. But anyway, wound up coming in, was the vice president of national sales, and was working in New York, and actually had a great situation because New York National Sales Office was a 3-store brownstone on the Upper East Side, and he lived on the top floor, and and there was a hotel in the city as well. So he basically had all of his lodging and meals accounted for, and commuted downstairs to go to work. So great situation. Had a little bit of a problem because discovered that there some inconsistencies in his expense reporting, because he was taking cash advances for business trips, which is a fine process. You can do that. But then it turned out that he was submitting expense reports after getting the cash advance, submitting expense reports to the local New York hotel, to the New York National Sales Office, and the corporate level. So he was quadruple dipping. Wow. Sort of thing.
Damn.
Damn. And the organization never really could figure out and prove it because their internal controls were so bad. Yeah. Right? I mean, it was really, really horrible. So they wound up kind of figuring this out. It was actually his assistant who wound up kind of inadvertently revealing this sort of thing, and blew the top off. So he's gone immediately landed at another hotel group, right? Where he worked for a number of years. It was run by a very wealthy individual sort of thing, privately held, where again, after about 5 years, poof, disappeared under very suddenly sort of thing, and then wound up working for another major hotel group after that. Again, 3 years, something like that, poof, goes out. And I mean, absolutely amazing. But yeah, you look at this, and for people I know at all these groups go, oh yeah, there was something with expense reports was kind of I don't really know the details, but something was weird. Wow. But just absolutely crazy.
HITEC and HSMAI Rock. Are you going to Rock as well?
I am not going to Rock. Nope. I've actually got client meetings on that day, which conflicts because Rock's now on Wednesday. I can't remember if they did it Tuesday before they moved it to Wednesday, and I blew it. I set up meetings on Wednesday with people and hadn't registered for Rock, and was going, and it was, since I was going to be up there, wound up doing it, and then went, oh no, never mind. But
yeah,
so it goes.
It's I'm not a the scheduling of it, I find it very, very challenging because I think to Ed's point, if he were here to say, it was hard as a vendor last year in New Orleans when they did this the first time, that they had to basically double up and pay for both being in HITEC and at Rock because they didn't know where the audience was going to land. And then what ended up happening is that neither one really got the heavier audience that day. Right. Because it kind of vultured both audience. The only one audience was vultured between the two. So you got a diluted audience for both of them. I mean, Rock, of course, obviously. So it's going to be interesting. I think the attendance of Rock is the same, if not potentially even more than it was last year.
Yeah, I think they're slightly up, which is good because it's in Toronto and that sort of thing, which is a little bit, less traditional. Great city, fantastic city in the summer.
Awesome.
I mean, it's just, loved it when I lived there. But yeah, it's fantastic. But yeah, the structure with the overlapping. It's co-locating is fine, but Rock has kind of moved from the Monday to the Tuesday to the Wednesday, and you start looking at HITEC's educational sessions and things like that. Now there's big conflicts. So what I believe is happening now is people are winding up buying just exhibit passes for HITEC. Right. So and I think with Rock, I think you can get like an exhibit pass add-on or something. So I don't know if there's some sort of revenue share or something.
So you can go over to, but it also lands on a strong exhibit day because, as you know,
absolutely.
HITEC, it's not that the exhibit hall isn't there, as it is the availability of the exhibit hall, and the exhibit hall relies upon really 2 major days,
right?
That walking traffic, and Rock's sitting on one of them, and it's the first one.
Well, and to react to that, what's happened is that HFTP has really changed around a lot of their educational sessions and things like that because they've tried to now shut them down so people will go into the exhibit hall, because that was always a problem because they were competing with the educational sessions versus traffic in the exhibit hall at the same time. And now you have this, HSMAI thing, and the 3 did not work out. So they've now done that, but now you'll have 3 or 4 of these super sessions where there used to just be 1 or 2. It might be one that was real techie on security or something like that, or internal control. And another one would be on distribution or digital marketing or something. And those things, well, now they've got a whole bunch of them. And so I kind of look at it, it's just kind of turning into a mess. Because then with HSMAI, they do the chief, revenue officer roundtable now on Thursday, right? So that's kind of, and I think the exhibits are only open from 10 to 2 or something. So it's a short day. It's only 4 hours. So that wipes out those guys going there. They're probably, maybe if they are there the day before, they're probably going to the revenue management conference as opposed to, because I think they probably get their registrations comped. I think, I don't know, but they might. So I'm not really sure.
Tuesday is the pre-Rock event stuff, which is in conflict with the certification time frame stuff for HITEC. It's like
and those Rock sessions and those sessions now they did Hebs, Nor one, and a third one I can't remember have taken all the sessions. So it was kind of a mix, but now they're now each doing 3 sessions sort of thing. Yeah. So on 3 different topics.
Content. Don't get me wrong, Max puts out great content.
Yeah. And I did a thing with Nor one last year. It was great. It was a really good session. It wasn't a ton of people, but it was really good. But again, those they're doing that. So all of that tied together really impacts the exhibit time at Well, I mean, that's a problem.
I think that, and then this is an argument that I persistently have about live coverage and recorded replayable coverage of presentations. You can't replace walking the floor at HITEC if that's a function that you need to go there for, because to be exposed to new product, new services, and so forth, and to dialogue directly with those people, it's an invaluable engagement. That's not duplicatable. No matter how much you want to walk up with the camera going, "Hi, tell me about yourself." It's not the same as being able to ask your own questions. Right. Unlike a presentation in which you're being fed information, that can be assumably redone or left available to, hey, I got to make a choice between going to the exhibit floor or going over to this super session or go over to this pre-Rock thing. It would be great to say, if I bought this at a different rate, I could get access to what I can't do all at the same time.
Right. Yeah. Well, and with now what really happens is the exhibits are 10 to 4, right, for the on Tuesday, right? So they now have the keynote 8:30 to 10, which is pretty early, right, for people for the conference. So I would guess, and they have Alex Tapscott, who's Don Tapscott's son. Really good stuff. I'm sure it'll be a great presentation on blockchain. Probably going to be very, very valuable to attend that. But it's at 8:30 in the morning, which is kind of early. And then the exhibits don't open until
the logistics of the city. The hotel nexus around the convention center is not even I think 15% of the total attendance value of the event itself. So you mean that everybody that isn't from the neighborhood has to basically come into the conference, that had to get hotels all out in their outer perimeters, and you're talking about Toronto freaking traffic. Which, guys, if there anybody,
well, you take the you take the sub.
Yeah, whoop, I lost you. By the way, you've been doing this a lot, where your computer just clicks off and it's like, beep, gone. In the world of Star Wars, you'd be like Han Solo and the hyperdrive doesn't work. It's like, it's not my fault, you know, and you work on it, you tear apart your touchpad and everything else, but you disappeared. Robert, I hope you come back, but we're actually at kind of that point anyway where it's almost 2 hours. So if Robert makes it back, I'll let him say this, but I'll say this about Robert. For those who want to find out what Robert Cole does and who Robert Cole is and all the good stuff that Robert Cole is rockcheetah.com. His Twitter handle is Robert K. Cole, at Robert K. Cole for Twitter. And he has an active Twitter account, which we won't talk about while he's not here. But that is available to go and find Robert. For the archives of this show and all other 97 of these shows, we've been doing this consistently and without fail every week for almost 2 years now, is at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, it's at Lauren Gray, LORENGRAY. We also have a weekly podcast, which is available at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com, and a Monday Marketing Minute, which we recap quick answers to questions that get presented in this show, as well as the podcast and emails and correspondences that we get from those who follow us. We'll try to answer some simple stuff, or at least point you in the right direction for them. All that is available at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com. So until next week, which we do have a guest co-host that I did not take the time to look up their name for, my sincere apologies. It will be posted for those who are following us on email. If you would like to subscribe and be notified of this show and other shows, you can go to hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live, sign up there, and then you'll be receiving notifications. We even do text messaging to remind people when the show is about ready to start, so we can keep you well informed to give you the latest and greatest information. So until next week, next Friday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern for show number 99. 99. It's a song in there somewhere. Anyway, I am one of your co-hosts, Lauren Gray, thanking you for participating today and joining us, and we hope that you get to join us next week as well. Until then, have a great week.